Fingers crossed. Here we go.
Here we go, yo. Here we go, yo.
Here you go, Adam. Don't fuck it up.
Yeah, exactly. Don't fuck it up. Don't fuck it up. Shit. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Not For Nothing. I want to thank Darren from the deepest pit of my heart for coming back here a fourth fucking time. If anybody never heard me complain about this, yeah, I fucked up 3 separate times on recording, and every single time, either the recordings got lost or the audio got lost, and it was insanely embarrassing. I've told everybody to bear with me. It's been nearly a year. I still suck at this. I apologize.
You're doing it. You're doing it. And here we are again, number 4.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming out again. Thank you, Adam. Adam's producing today. If awesome. You want to consider that an actual word, like an actual position in such a shit podunk podcast, but
making it happen.
We're here, exactly.
Yeah, we are.
So you had a good time coming here today, huh?
I'm coming in hot. I mean, you better watch out. Like, I'm coming out of this cold, 17 effing degrees outside right now.
Yeah, it's fucking
but I'm
cold.
coming in hot because it was quite a ride. It was quite a ride, and I'm upset about the cold. Like, the cold just makes me fucking angry.
Which is funny considering you're from the New England area initially. And you got the fuck out of New England, and now you're back in New England.
I'm a Miami boy.
Did you lose a bet?
Yeah, right. It was a good. I didn't anticipate the winters, but the change was something I needed, something I wanted to do. I missed Northeast. I missed working in New York, Boston, Connecticut, of course, at Brass City.
Right.
Let's say it was calling, and I went with it.
So why don't we start with this? I'm sure a lot of people know who you are, but why don't you introduce yourself and give us a heads up on kind of where you got your start?
I'm Darren Brass. Most people, I think, know me from Miami, Miami Inc., Love Hate, all that good shit. We filmed some TV, I guess, somewhere along the way. And here I am now. I'm back to my roots, back in Connecticut, and making it happen.
So where'd you get your actual start?
My actual start, so I started with Peter Tattoo in Danbury, Connecticut.
Right.
Spent about a year there, and then from after that year, I went to Peter Tattoo in Hempstead, New York.
And that's where I met you, was way back in the day when I was getting tattooed by Ledger.
Yeah, you were getting tattooed by Ledger, and that was why I wanted to work at that shop. I was getting tattooed by Ledger as well. I saw what he was doing, what was going on in that shop, and I'm like, this is where I need to be. Like,
yeah.
What am I doing anywhere else? So I worked my angles, asked the boss Larry, I'm like, how do I do this? Like, I need to be here. So Cindy Burmeister, Gregory Christian's wife, she wasn't working the weekends. So Larry was like, hey, you know what? Cindy's station's up on the weekends. Why don't you take it?
So you work in Connecticut during the week, and then you come down and work on Long Island on the weekends.
Yeah, in Long Island.
Nice.
Living in New York City in a studio apartment with 2 other dudes.
So you're bouncing. So at that time, you said you were living in New York, but you were bouncing back to Connecticut and then bouncing to Long Island. So it's kind of like an in-between point. That's not a bad deal.
No, it was definitely a transitional point. Yeah, it was great. It gave me so much, and I was young enough where the bounce back and forth, half the week in Connecticut, half the week in New York. All right, this is what I'm doing. This is where I'm at. Like, I'm cool with it.
Especially if you get to work with individuals you want to fucking work with.
I worked with champions, in the industry. Like, they were, ridiculous. Angelo Miller was there. Mike Ledger was there. Stu Pauly was there. It was just, there was talent. Marguerite and Cindy were there. I mean, so it was like...
Growing up on the east end of Long Island, well, not the east end. I was in the middle. I was right at the beginning of Suffolk County. Well, not the beginning, but deep in this, not too deep into Suffolk County.
Right.
But Lotus was Center Reach, Long Island, which is not... Well, Lotus was Sayville, but Cliffs was Center Reach, which is even further east and on the North Shore to boot. So for me, it was a bit more of it was a chore to get to know who Ledger was. Peter Tattoo had gotten an article in the papers, and that's when they opened Lotus, Tom Butler and Civ. Okay. And I was considering going to Peter Tattoo because they just had an article in the paper. I had just left the shop that I had started in with Cliff.
Right.
And I was fucking dead, and I'd see this thing, and they're talking about how busy Peter Tattoo was.
It's crazy.
And Tom Butler was the one that was like, dude, fuck that. Don't go to that shop. That's fucking bullshit. It's a bad fucking scene. Once you work for those guys, that's it. You don't work for anybody else. But I was just like, dude, I'm going to get tattooed by Ledger. Like, I'm going to talk to him. I meet you. I was like, dude, that shop, compared to a shop in Suffolk County, was like...
That shop was nonstop.
And it was big. The very few shops that.
Oh yeah, we all had an individual station. We all had our space. You know, we had a guy working the floor on the steady, managing everything, making sure everything was taken care of. I mean, it was an efficiently run business. It was to come into tattooing in that light with that going on, and again with the history of Peter Tattoo, where yeah, you can say whatever you want, and people say a lot of things about it, but they were always. You know, Peter Tattoo, and starting with Peter Polus and Larry, they brought so much talent into the industry and gave so much to the industry. I mean, I couldn't have started in a better place. Right. I couldn't have been around a better energy. Yeah, it was rough and it was straight to the point. You better not fuck around, but... Yeah,
that was at a time where if you did do something uncouth, you were going to get fucking smacked down for it.
Every action has a reaction, right? Yeah. You know, it should be that way. I mean, you gotta do something ridiculous. Well, then something ridiculous might happen.
I mean, there are shops that are still existent like that today. But how do you think a lot of the tattooers? Do you think it would have kept a lot of the tattooing? Like, say, most of the shops still ran that way. You know what I mean? Do you think it would have kept it? I mean, it kept it under wraps for a really long fucking time.
It kept things in line, is how I like to think of it. Especially now, looking at the industry and what's happening, where it's gone, and you know, anybody open up anywhere. I think that they kept things in line. I think they kept a certain order to things, and they kept it moving.
Yeah.
You know, at the same time, did things need to be reformed a little bit? Well, yeah. I mean, looking now, it's 2024. Of course, with anything, there needs to be a reform.
Yeah,
to
you
it.
can't.
You know, like, you need to evolve.
Yeah, you can't possibly run a business.
No.
Like I said, I think that they exist.
Right.
And like Adam has told stories about shops in like South Dakota and stuff like that where
I mean there's definitely shops with
it's still the
element where
West.
Fuck around, lay around, you know what I mean? Fa la la, son, here you go. But it's, you know, it wasn't even that. It was just like, look, you knew you had to do the right thing, and why not do the right thing? You know,
it was a matter of respect because the guy owned it. He brought you into his house. You were making money for him. There was transfer of money, but it gave you an opportunity to work someplace. And like you said, things were taken care of.
Yeah.
You know, someone wasn't coming in there shooting the place up because they knew the place had a reputation.
Right, and they're not. And why would they?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, why would they? Like, there's no reason to. Again, business wise, man, they were doing it.
Yeah,
they were doing it, and there was no garbage coming out of that shop.
No, definitely not. I mean, like I said, back then, it had part of it had a reputation as being pretty biker. You know what I mean? Because Marguerite, I think, had a pretty large biker clientele back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
You know? And that was the predominant person getting tattooed back then.
Yeah, back then, especially, you know, out on the island. I mean, sure, that's what you did. That's how you did it. Yeah. But at the same time, you know, when I was coming in, you were coming in, you know, in that part of the 90s, you were seeing it change a little bit. Oh, yeah. You were seeing the different people come in. You were seeing, you know, the younger generation come in, step in, and wanting to do something different. I mean, Mike Ledger had dudes visiting from Europe, from Japan, so you saw like, oh, what's happening?
It was like serious game. Yeah, it changed the way most people did business back in the day. Yeah. And to a degree where you went, I want to be part of this.
Absolutely.
You know, because when I first got into tattooing, it really wasn't about that. It was more about just tattooing. And I thought there was an art aspect to it. Didn't realize it until I met Paul Booth, how much of an art aspect it was. Right. And then getting to meet guys like Ledger, getting to my first convention in Chicago where you really get to see things blow the fuck up. Yeah.
You're like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was yes. There was so much happening, like even in New York City at the time. With Eastside Inc. Yeah. All that.
I got tattooed. So I got tattooed by Bernie Luther when it was still underground at Eastside, and that was, you know, again, it was especially coming from Long Island, because you know as well as I do, back then especially, if you were on the island, you very rarely left the island. You had to go to the city was a thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a lot of people did go to the city just to hang out, but being from where I was from, that wasn't really a thing.
It was a trip.
Exactly. It was
a
big
an hour in.
Exactly. It was a big deal. So going there and seeing guys like Bernie Luther, I think Erno was working there. shit, I know Tintin would go there.
Oh, yeah.
You know, back in the day, I think it was 94. What's his name came out there? Ed Hardy was out there for the first time, 94, 95.
I got tattooed by Mike Davis out there.
Right, exactly.
Who was that? Sean Vasquez was there.
Yeah, Vasquez was there for
Andrea.
a long time. Yeah.
I mean, there were so many names running in and out of that place, and with that came everybody else that was getting tattooed. So
Exactly.
It was just,
I think
it was
that
an
I think
institution.
East,
Laurie was running it.
Exactly.
East
East Side was a great word, institution, because you had guys like Sean Vasquez, and who I met like I think the first 2 weeks I was tattooing, he guested at our shop.
Oh, nice.
So it was him and Laurie, him and Andrea, that were pretty much the draw for a lot of these other big European artists and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And I remember when Mike couldn't wait to get the fuck out of Long Island to get into New York.
Right.
And by that point now you have what's her name shop? Laurie's shop opens up.
Once New York adorned opened up,
Yes.
then that was a complete game changer.
Yeah.
Everything changed.
Yeah, because it brought American artists,
much.
European artists. It brought everybody to the fucking table.
And she opened up in the midst of it all.
Yeah.
Right there, you know, second and first, or first and second, whatever the hell it was.
Yeah, management and body piercing. That was like her claim to fame.
Even with the piercing, like, she had jewelry that nobody had.
Exactly.
She had, you know, and again, just the way she ran her business like a business. Like, people forget sometimes, like, yeah, we're artists, and, you know, we do art, and we're tattooists, tattoo artists. Everybody has a big thing with that now, whatever. But she brought an element to the game where she was bringing in this amazing amount of talent, all in one place.
Right.
There was no egos, for the most part.
Yeah.
There was still an element of respect.
I think
and she did it right there.
And I think back then you could get away to do the business part of things because things weren't as loosey-goosey as they are now. Right. Not to say that that's the case throughout the entire industry now, but back then, this is how it was done. If you were a guest artist, you kicked back this much money no matter what.
Yeah.
You know, like if you were a full-time artist, this is how much money you kicked in. This is what the shop supplied. Things have changed dramatically as the years have gone on. Right. Guest artists want a little bit more. I know I lived that for a long time where if I went away, I didn't give a kickback because they were just happy to have me in the shop.
Right.
And I do that with a handful of people that come to this shop still.
Of course. I mean, one gives to the other.
But things have changed dramatically too, where businesses have to be run a certain way and there's no getting around it. So I think back then it was primed to bring all that together because it was just a given that, I don't care if you're coming from, wherever, it's great to have you here. But by the way, you're going to be sharing a chair next to Ledger, next to Tintin, next to Alex Binney, next to all these fucking big names.
No pressure.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
no pressure.
And it's funny you should say it because now I think you'd have less of that pressure because I think everybody thinks they come to the table as like a great artist. Well, I don't think as many people are traveling because they want the experience of working next to these people. And I'm not saying they don't exist, but I think a lot of people nowadays are more about like, oh, dude, I want to go to New York. You'd be happy to have me at your shop. There's a lot of that.
Right. There's nowadays. A lot of that. There's a lot of that. And yeah, that's the whole thing. I don't want to get too salty about things. And I'm not that salty about things.
No, you're pretty fucking happy fucking go lucky.
I just, look, it's again, I talk about, shit evolves. Evolution is natural. This is part of the evolution of, you're going to get more. If flowers start growing over here, you're probably going to get more flowers. You can get more flowers, and you can get more flowers. So there's flowers fucking popping up everywhere.
Right.
If they're going to stand the weather, like I said, it's 17 degrees outside right now. I'm cold. And shit gets cold. Shit gets cold in the industry. It's just like the weather. It's natural.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's going to get cold, and you're going to hit those droughts, and you're going to find that bad weather that, are you going to be able to fare it or not?
And that's where I think we find ourselves now. But we're getting way ahead of ourselves.
Right, fair.
So Peter Tattoo had a reputation for not allowing artists to leave. You work for Peter Tattoo, you work for Peter Tattoo. And that's that. And you've traveled a fucking shit ton. What was the first, when you leave Long Island, where do you end up after that? And how did you get out?
I left Long Island, and again, I wanted to be respectful to what I agreed to. So, I wasn't working in New York. I was kind of bouncing all over the place. I didn't know where I wanted to be, what I wanted to do. I was traveling here, traveling there. And then Angelo just so happened to be visiting Cindy in Florida. Because that's how I got my full-time position in New York, is Cindy left.
Right.
She went to go work in Florida. Well, I didn't know where she went at first, but come to find out, she went to go work in Florida. She was working for Tattoos by Lou. Angelo left the shop in Long Island, and he went to visit her. and he went to visit another older artist from Long Island area. But yeah, he was down in Florida and he saw Cindy and he was hanging out with Tattoos by Lou just for the history from Lou Scabaris.
Again, yeah, that shop, no joke.
Had everyone coming in.
Exactly.
So he was down there chilling with Lou and he heard that they needed someone to do a guest spot. Now at the time, keep in mind, he was working at the shop. Gregory Christian was working at the shop. Louis Segato had worked at the shop. Dan Knight had worked at the shop. Cindy was working at the shop. Lou had 4 shops at the time as well. Let me mention that.
Yeah.
Like beast. And Garver was working at the shop.
Again,
and Angelo mentioned to me, he's like, so I told him you've been tattooing 3 years. You need to get here and do guest spot. And I was like, dude,
how long have you been tattooing at that point?
2 years.
Oh shit!
I mean, maybe it was 3 years, and they told him 4 years. Whatever it was. He threw an extra year onto my, onto my resume.
Padded your resume, as to say.
I think maybe it was 3 years I've been tattooing. But he put an extra year on there and told Lou about me. Cindy backed him on that, and next thing you know, I'm doing a 4-day guest spot in Miami.
That's fucking killer.
And I'll tell you what, in those 4 days, I met an incredible bunch of guys. Lou Scabaris was absolutely unique, unbelievable individual, knew the industry, knew the people in the industry, had traveled the world at that point.
Right.
And I'm like, and I'm figuring this all out within, 3 days.
Right.
And on the 4th day, he was like, look, you did real good. You want to come on for another week, you stay another week. You want to come on for another month, you stay another month. You want to come on full time? Let's talk. And I went, let's talk. I mean, I made more money than I ever made in 4 days.
Right.
I was with an unbelievable crew of artists.
The worst places to land in Miami.
I was being respectful. I wasn't in New York. And that was that, man. Miami became home.
Now, how did that go down back home? Like...
Everything was cool.
Everything was cool.
Yeah, everything was cool. Like, I went down to Miami. There's no major internet presence. There was no social media presence back then. I wasn't blasting this, that, the next thing. I was sitting down 5, 6, 7 days a week sometimes just working.
That was the wonderful day of word of mouth.
Yeah,
like
that was
the
it.
only way it ever got back to somebody is if you were shooting your mouth off about somebody back home, and then that person was eventually going to go back and start spreading rumors and stuff like that. Then it turned into a shit show.
Right.
But up until that point, you didn't have like the internet where where you can call somebody out like the day of.
Old school. Just that, I hate the word, but old school. We were chilling, working, having a good time. I was in Miami. I was on vacation.
Yeah.
Like I'm a northern boy. Like I'm vacation. So it was awesome. It was awesome. And then, but at the same time, I was having a really hard time. I was living in New York City, working on the island, but living in New York City. I was having a hard time leaving the city, to the point where Garver actually had to stick up for him because Lou was ready to can me. Like, if you go back to New York one more time,
really,
he's like, I'm gonna can you. Garver's like, dude, come on, you understand? You're a New Yorker. You've been back and forth. I've been back and forth. He's like, give him a chance. Just have a talk with him. It was like that because I just.
It's hard.
I like coming up north.
The fact that you're here again is
soil.
A testament to that. I mean,
right.
But again, I think that there's nothing. Again, I'm not a Florida guy. I'm a bit of I can hang out in some southern states and whatnot. My wife is from down there, not as far as Florida. I only did that one stint in Miami that one time.
Right.
And it's not for me. I don't think I can handle that. It's not my cup of tea.
I'm a Miami boy. I mean, Miami took me in. I spent half my life there for the most part. A few trips, a few years, months back in New York, thinking maybe I'll do this, but then, man, Miami always brought me back.
So eventually you do end up leaving Miami. You bounced around quite a bit.
Yeah, I bounced around a little bit.
Is this like, you're looking now, you probably like late 90s?
Yeah, more or less, mid to late. Because, I was bouncing, like I said, even when I first went down there, I was bouncing a little bit. But then I got more calculated with my trips, and I wasn't disrespectful to Lou and his business.
Yeah, you make it. Because that's, again, just from a business standpoint, you don't want to fuck the dude who's
right, and
giving you a chair.
And, he's the one that kind of, somebody's like, look, you give me a starving artist your whole fucking life. He goes, but I got a house. I got a pool in my house. I got 3 cars in the driveway. And I tell you what, I feel pretty good. You want to starve? Starve. Go ahead. I was like, I don't want to starve.
That
I don't
seems
want
to
to be a
be
starving
the,
artist.
that seems to be the one thing he was really good at. It was just kind of like grounding people in a sense of like, you want a car or do you want to just walk everywhere? Do you want to take the bus everywhere? Do you want a house where you can invite friends in and you can entertain, you can do certain things, you have a roof above your head? It seemed like even when I talked to Emerson and Greg, it seemed like that was something that he excelled at, and letting people know it's like, dude, there's a big world out there. You can do all that, but you can also just, take one little section of it for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And take that one little section and make the most of it. Right. Make it yours and prosper.
Right.
That's more it was. It wasn't, I want to get rich and, fuck everybody else.
No, exactly.
It was, I want to prosper. Yeah. Like, I want to be comfortable. I want to live a good life. I want to live, an amazing life for that.
And this was before the day of like, rock star shops where you tried to create an environment that people wanted to come to. That all happened naturally because as word spreads, or somebody goes down there and then they come back and they say, "Oh, dude, you got to go down to Miami." Like,
of course,
I only knew about it, like I said, from when I met Emerson and Greg back in 96 maybe 95.
Yeah, I think so.
I'd go into a convention with those two nut jobs and just hearing the stories. I mean, because they were mad party animals. A lot of stories.
Yeah, we were beast mode.
Yeah,
and we went in. We had the time of our lives. We did it. We did it. We had it, and we showed up to work every day too.
Yeah. Well, I think it's it's definitely it shows the resilience of an individual when you can do everything that happens the night before and still show up for work on
all
time.
that and some.
Yeah.
Because
there will be hell to pay if you do not.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I always said work is the best cure for a hangover. That of a greasy cheeseburger or taco from San Loco back in the day. I mean, that was really all it took. But yeah, I mean, they were great, and it showed me so much. And it showed me how much I could travel because we had artists coming in, from LA. We had, so many artists came to those tours. Mike Wilson from Jacksonville came in regular. I mean, that was ridiculous. Danny Knight came by the shop. Luis was always around.
Right.
Troy Lane would pop in and say what's up because he was with working with Michelle and Ken.
Right.
And then doing his own thing, of course. Troy just did his thing. But there were so many amazing artists, even just out of Miami, like the history of Miami, the amount of artists that have gone through there, worked at Lou's shop, another Lucky Bastard,
right.
Frank Ball.
Let me ask you a question. How much of that from back in the day was tourist? Like, was it always tourist back in the day, or was it like? Because there's no military base around Miami. It's
there's a Coast Guard, but we had our local. But I've always said, even to this day, even at Love Hate, 70% of our clientele are tourists.
Yeah,
they're coming in. Even back in the day, it was awesome because, after the show, it's like the pound was high, the euro was high.
Well, you had a lot of Europeans. Yeah,
people were coming in, and they wanted to, one, come to Miami, two, get tattooed in Miami.
Right, exactly.
And we were
Which is the worst possible place to get tattooed.
Right.
It's like, I'm going to get tattooed and go to the beach. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
It was insane. We used to have to break it out. Fronters is real good about breaking it down. Like, all right, listen. When do you leave? When are you back home? All right, so the day before you leave. Yeah. Not the day you leave. Yeah. So we would, I guess you get used to a whole other way of things.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, that's testament to a good front person.
But that also, after 30 years of doing that, burnt me out. I was done with the walk-ins. No more, no mas, get away.
Yeah, but you're back to it again. Well, again, we'll get to that. We're getting ahead of ourselves again. But yeah, so you want to get out of that
into another.
Yeah, you want to get out of that environment. You want to get out of the street shop environment. You want to do a little bit. At that point too, because you've been kind of a jack of all trades when it comes to styles. You're not stuck into one thing. And I mean, again, I think that's testament to a good upbringing in the business and working in a really productive shop. Because if you can do anything, then you can go anywhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, if you're...
And I did.
Yeah.
And that was the thing, back in the day, too, like, if somebody wanted it, you had to do it. You weren't making money.
Exactly.
You didn't turn it away. You didn't give it up. You had to know how to do that.
Yeah.
And I did it. Look, I never did portraits. I did a couple of my day. I did a few of my day.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy it. I didn't like
I think
it. So it's not something that I put a lot into.
I would go as far as to say portrait work is probably any kind of black and gray for the most part, but portraiture especially seemed to be something that was always a specialty.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if you wanted a great portrait, you can go out to the West Coast. There was a handful of people in New York that were doing it. And they were scattered all about. Not to put on any one coast or anything. But it was one of those things. Like I think I did my first portrait 6 months into tattooing. I did a John Lennon. I still have photos of it. Nice. I did a John Lennon. And for back then, you would just kind of like, yeah, because you very rarely got to see it, and mine looked good compared to what I saw in the magazines.
Right.
But I never excelled at like portrait stuff like the way you see today, where things look like a fucking photograph on the skin.
Crazy.
You know?
But there's a technique. I mean, to everything, there's a technique. There's a way. There's a formula.
I think there's also the back of your mind going, is that going to last 20 years? Where's that going to be in 20 years?
Well, longevity, that's all other thing.
There comes a point where you do have to where you literally, you kind of stop and you either cut ties with your past and you just say, fuck it, I'm moving forward.
Yeah.
Or you just you always have that tether that keeps you from really, stretch. And that's kind of, I think I've had that for the most part. I've had bouts of fuck the past, I'm just going forward. But I also, everything that brings me back is 5 years down the line seeing something you did 10 years ago and you go, oh yeah, I shouldn't do that. I got to stop doing that,
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, and listen, as far as portraits, to go back on that, like as far as there's certain people that did them, like Tim Hendricks.
Yeah.
I have a portrait he did of me 20 years ago, or almost 20 years ago now. It looks amazing, but the way he did it, that's what it lies in. Like he didn't do his portraits like everybody else did him, and people were looking and go, what the hell?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's the way he did. And again, Tim, talk about moving forward with work. Like, wow.
Oh, fuck yeah. I mean,
wow.
I don't really know Tim. I mean, I've met him a bunch of times
awesome
where we're always polite, like we always treat each other like friends, but I've never really gotten the opportunity to really hang with him. And it's funny because I got to know him a little bit better after the whole Miami thing because they were looking to replace Cat and all that other crap. So I went down there to do a week's guest spot and film, and he was already there doing his thing. And
Tim would visit with us all the time. He was like, Tim's like family. Like
exactly.
I love that guy. Love him. Love his
work. And from there, we just got. And I think it was more out of you and Ami and maybe even Garver saying, "No, Joe's a good guy, man. Like he's solid." Because I've had people too. Like I was in fucking Israel at a thing, and there was a gal there with us, and she was throwing me shade the whole fucking first couple of days. And she's working, I'm not going to say who it was or who she was working for, but she calls back and they start talking and my name comes up and they're like, oh no, dude, Joe's a good guy. And she was just like, really? Assuming because I've been on television, I'm a douchebag.
Everybody likes to make
literally
assumptions.
The next morning, we're having coffee downstairs and she's just like, I talked to my boss and, he said you were a really good guy and, she could take the time to get to know. I was like, why would it take you to fucking talk to somebody? I'm like, cool, whatever, dude. Like,
well, I've had a number of artists. One in particular I can remember in Germany was like, I had been to Germany a bunch of times. And I finally brought Ami, and I'd been there a few years. And one of the artists comes up and he goes, I have to apologize because I talked a lot of shit about you guys. He's like, I definitely, without knowing you. He's like, and now that I've gotten to know you after the last few years, like, man, I have to apologize. I'm really sorry. All due respect, I was like, man, I get it.
Dude, I've had motherfuckers do that in my living room.
Yeah,
I've had guys who were staying with me from Australia, and the one dude that was like he'd been with us for 4 days, and we're watching something on the television. It was like late after work, and we're hanging out in my living room, and he's just like, man, I gotta admit something. I'm really happy to be here sitting with you in your living room. I'm like, yeah. He's like, yeah, man, because I honestly thought, like, when I met you in Toronto years ago, I thought you were the biggest asshole. And I'm like, first of all, we didn't even talk.
Right, yeah.
I thought you were a dickhead because you were a fucking loudmouth Australian playing the part, fucking Crocodile Dundee and shit. And I was just like, fuck you. And I'm like, well, how you feel about it now? You're sleeping under my roof, you prick. But, I mean, it's funny that it happens.
Yeah.
How often do you think it happens? Do you think it happens more now with social media and these false, because everybody's got they've got a false front. Like very few people, and even when they're wearing it on their sleeve on Instagram and fucking Facebook and stuff, even when they claim to be wearing it on their sleeve, how much of it do you think is just made up for fucking likes?
A lot. 80% of
probably,
most.
yeah, right?
Like,
I mean,
if I had to throw a number quick, that just came off the top of my head, off the cuff. Like,
because, dude,
it's yeah, but he's got, everybody's call it hometown hair or social media, badass. Like, what's the difference?
I guess well, and that's a good way of putting it. One is just more international, and again, unless you can make likes into dollars and cents,
right?
What's it really getting? I mean, granted, some people have done that. They've managed to figure out a way to get people to fly across the country to get tattooed by them and stuff. And again, we had the same thing back in our day. I mean, I had a wonderful fucking career that lasted a very long period of time. It's starting to die out now, but I'm also getting older and shit changes.
Yeah.
But having said all that, like, you want to go back into some of your traveling and where you've lived, because you eventually end up coming back to Connecticut.
So yeah, let's just, I was back and forth between New York and Miami for years. Whether I should have been working in New York or not, I did. Again, out of respect for an agreement that I made. But whatever, we did what we had to do. I was a kid. I didn't care, like, whatever.
No, exactly.
And
back then, too, things were getting a little squirrely with...
I want to give props to Bradley Farrell at High Roller Tattoo.
Long Island, yeah.
Because Bradley really, he was part of that transition, where this is a different type of shop. Yeah. Like, shops didn't run like that.
Bradley was one of the shops that was in Manhattan, was on the island. It was in...
out there.
Hicksville. North Shore, Long Island.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing, like, I got tattooed by Timothy Hoyer there.
Yeah.
I met Mike Rubenthal there.
Yep.
Because Mike at that point was Ledger is off the island. He's in Manhattan now.
Yeah.
Rubenthal starts making a name for himself.
Oh yeah.
I met him when I was getting this tattooed by Timothy. I got tattooed by Chris O'Donnell at
Chris O'Donnell was there. Grime was there.
He did my elbow. Yeah.
It's crazy.
So, and those guys for me, like, mainly Timothy, and I met Chris through Timothy. Mm-hmm. But dude, the first time I'd seen Timothy's work was fucking in Jersey years prior, and I was infatuated by his drawings and his work and everything else. And then through him, I got to meet Chris, who was doing all this chrome stuff. And again, if everybody thinks that it's got to be a traditional tattoo to fucking hold up, and that's what Chris is doing now, my fucking elbow is retarded. It is so fucking good till this.
Did it right.
It looks amazing. And again, it just follows, but it's got a bit of a new school flair to it. It's a chrome spider beetle thing with flames coming out its ass. It is fucking gorgeous till this day. Thank you very much, Chris. And same thing with Timothy. Like, I just love their fucking work.
Solid.
Honestly, I wish they would stayed in the styles in which I met them in. But then again, everybody changes. Everybody does their own thing. Right. You know what I mean?
I mean, Chris's work, it's
fucking insane. Just beautiful. Yeah.
Solid.
Just solid as shit.
Perfection. He just tattooed one of the young bloods at our shop, and I'm just like, it's perfect.
Yeah, those are guys who
perfect.
Made a name for themselves doing something of their own, and then managed. I shouldn't even say managed. Made the transition into doing more traditional, like uber traditional work.
But it still has their flair to it.
Yeah.
It's as traditional as it is. It still has a look and a feel that, oh yeah, Chris O'Donnell did that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, Garver did that. You know, it's like,
Garver's always had that style though. That it's Garver. Like he's up there with like Philip. He's up there with Ledgers. He's like, to me, like, you look at something they did and you're like, oh, that's fucking Garver. Yeah. And if it's not Garver, it's somebody who's fucking jocking him so hard. But again, you can't help that. It's just,
you know the difference.
Exactly.
I know the difference.
It's the same thing with Tim. Hendrix's stuff. It's like he took the girl head, the Jack Rudy style girl head, and I might be mistaken on where that hole came from, but for me, it was Rudy. And to see what Hendrix did with it, and now that's become its own thing. Which kind of got into the whole neo-trad thing, and then with Eckel and guys like that, and then it got boosted to something a little bit different, or a lot different, you know.
Right.
But it's amazing that when you look at how we came up, and you can trace things back to individuals, you know what I mean? Where I think a lot of kids today. And again, I shit on the younger generation. I don't mean to, but a lot of these people, I don't think they take the time to look past not even a generation. They're going back like fucking 6 months.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, they're not coming with their own ideas. They're not coming with mentioning O'Donnell for that part or Garver for that part. They're not. It's copy and paste.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
There's just not enough. Like, I just want to see that energy in there. Yeah. Sometimes it could even. It just got to have that little nuance, that little energy, that little something that makes it special.
But now here's the thing.
Just enough. Like, it could be a very fine line.
But do you think it's the client that's stopping that? Or do you think it's the tattooer who's not willing to take the chance?
Both.
Because
well, here's the thing. Here's the problem with the tattooer. Like, if it's the client, then the tattooers give them way too much power to the client.
Dude, I'll be honest with you though, man. I just went through something literally in the past couple of months where I literally was like, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore because I can't I can't bring myself to what they want. And again, I'm the first one to say I'm a tattooer. If that's what they fucking want, if I can't talk them out of it, that's what they'll get. Unless it's something I blatantly feel I can't do because I'm not willing to do that to the other person, to the artist I'm copying. But a lot of times I do try to do something and it keeps going and they're just like, no. I'm like, cool, you know what? Here you go. There's your tattoo. We're done. I'm not doing this anymore. And again, I know that sounds hypocritical for things I've said recently, but I honestly feel it gets to a point where I'm like, I don't want to bang my head against the wall just so you can come in, bring something that you want done that somebody else had done when you could have just gone to that person and do it.
Right.
Now, granted, he doesn't live here, lives in California, but I don't want
lazy.
Like, I know
you travel to get what you wanted. Yeah. I travel to get what I wanted.
Exactly.
Like,
but again, I do realize we live in a different world. But here's the other thing: is we also live in a world where it's like, if it ain't going to be me, it's going to be somebody else. Like, I've had conversations with guys here that are just like, yeah, dude, like, if you don't do it, somebody else is going to do it. Would you rather give it to the guy up the street? You know you're going to do a better job on it.
Well, that's how I feel about hands now.
Yeah.
Want your hand done? Because I've seen so many horrible hands out there that I am honestly disgusted by. Disgusted. Like, how can you fucking do that to somebody? So if that schlep up the street is going to give them that, well, I'm going to give them something better.
You know what's funny?
And that's what I'm doing now. They're going to do it anyhow. There's no line anymore to cross. They're going to do it. That's what they want. I'm not going to send them up the street. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it better. But I'm going to do it my way.
You saying that. So literally 10 fucking days ago, we had a kid come in here. I swear to God, he looked like he was 15 fucking years old with his sister or girlfriend. I don't know what. And I walked up there. I'm like, "Can I help you guys?" And the kid's like, he's like, "Yeah, I want to get tattooed." And I'm like, "Okay." And he's like, "I want a rose on my hand." And he's got nothing on. I swear to Christ,
and you gave him. Here's the thing, though. I'll give him the talk. Like, look, you realize this changes your life,
and I did.
Like, you think you're judged for race, color, creed, whatever it be. You get a tattoo and you hang your neck.
And I looked at the kid. I'm like, "How old are you?" And he goes, 18. Have you got any other tattoos? He's like, "No." And I'm like, man, like, hand's a bold spot. Like, you really should just get something someplace else. And the girls with him is just looking at him like, told you, fucking told you, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And the kid's like, so you won't do it? I'm like, get tattooed someplace else first.
Yeah.
And the kid just turned around and walked away. And I'm like, So I walked into Eric's room. I said that. And he's just like, dude, he goes, he's going to go up the street and he's going to get tattooed because somebody else is going to do it. Your values of today or of yesterday don't mean a goddamn thing today. And I think that might have been the one that got me thinking, like, fuck, yeah, I guess we're just facilitators. Like, if we don't do it, somebody else is going to do it, I don't have to feel good about every little thing. Because it happened early.
As long as I feel good about the piece I did, and I was able to put 110% into everything. That's the thing. If I can't put 110% into it, I'm not going to do it.
Right, exactly.
I'm done with it.
You're not going to do a half-ass tattoo like you're just saying somebody up the road is going to do.
I think I've ever necessarily done a half-ass tattoo, but I've done tattoos that I haven't been into.
Right.
Someone will turn on, I'm not boasting, but dude, that was fucking great. I'm like, eh.
Yeah, no, that happens.
Because I'm just not into it. It's not that I did it because that's what I do.
Like, we all have tattoos that we do, especially working in a shop, street shop, where you're tattooing multiple different types of people, multiple different styles. There are tattoos you're not going to take photos of because, A, you're going to do more of them.
Right.
And you don't need, how many fucking St. Michaels? Do another one. Dude, I've done more, especially coming from Long Island,
Oh, yeah.
The amount of St. Michaels you do from there, and then having to come up here, and it's the same fucking thing. And it's, again, I'm not knocking the St. Michael. No, cool, but good for you. But
it's an awesome tattoo, but you've done a lot of them.
Oh, God, I've done a million of them. Sure. It gets to a point where it's like, how many do you do?
Yeah.
We had one of the guys who used to work with us here. He went back to New York. Dude, this motherfucker, no exaggeration, every fucking week, he did at least 2 to 3 fucking St. Michael tattoos. He did at least 2 to 3 fucking pocket watches or sand clocks or fucking whatever else with the rope, to the point where he's just like, okay, pick which ones you want. And they'd look at him and be like, what do you mean? He's just like, well, pick which ones you want. And he
That's
goes, but I want something that you do. And he's like, no, you don't. You want something that your friends got. So tell me which one you want, because there's only so much you can do. And 9 times out of 10, if he showed them 10 images, 5 of which were drawn and 5 of which were direct bites from fucking mass cards, 9 out of 10, they're going to get one of the 3 of the 5 mass cards. They're always going to go for that same one.
Right.
There's no getting around it. I mean, I've redrawn those things so many fucking times.
Right. Yeah.
But then it gets to a point where it's like, you know what? Whatever, sit down.
Yeah.
And they're like, you're not going to take a picture of it? I'm like, why? Because I got 90 of these in my portfolio, dude. Like, how many do you take a photo of?
Right. Yeah. It's. I mean, it gets to a certain point. That's not taking anything away from the tattoo.
Oh no! This isn't anything.
I've got 90 pictures of that tattoo.
Yeah,
like,
this isn't
about
about the tattoo. This isn't about the client. This is about the fucking raw fact that tattoo exists a million different ways. And anybody, any artist, any artiste who's going to tell you, well, no, it's your job to do. Apparently, you've never done more than 1, maybe 3, because after 17.
You feel it.
That's it.
You feel it.
There's nothing else out there, man. AI exists, and even AI is drawing a fucking blank on this shit, man. Like, if you go to fucking Pinterest today, put in St. Michael's, you're going to get the standard.
Same ones.
And then you're going to get 1,000,001 versions of the same fucking thing, with too many abs, too many fingers, one nose too many. Like it's going to be 1,000,001 different things. So even with AI, it can't even figure this shit out, man.
No. And it can't vary it, and it can't situate it, and it can't give it that special little niche thing.
Exactly.
It doesn't. I mean, that's the history of, that's coming through it, and just looking at it going, nope.
Yeah, things change. I mean, things change and things don't in this business. And I think, the way we used to handle clients, I think, was great.
Yeah.
Because, and again, people are going to be offended by this, but clients, there was a pecking order. Clients had their place in that pecking order.
Right.
You know what I mean? When it came right down to it, the boss was the one that you really had to appease. And especially working from Long Island, like, you had to make sure that the shop was taken care of, and that the boss knew everything he wanted done was done. And then the artist. The client eventually fit in there, but it fit in at our leisure. It fit in when we were able to make it happen. You know what I mean?
Right.
And again, you could look at this as bad, and a lot of tattooers take advantage of that, which is fucked up. I'm not saying that was right. But the fact is, there was a law the law of the land, the way things were taken care of. Right. Now it's like you have to give more.
I can only and on that fact, I just had a conversation about it with someone. I'm like, you give away way too much power. Like, look, you know what you're capable of, you know what you're worth, you know your value, and you know what you bring. If somebody and a client is compromising that, you're sitting back here bitching to me about a client that compromised your position. Well, stand up on your own 2 feet, and let me know what you're going to do and how you're going to do it and the way you'd like to do it. That's my thing. I mean, even Milton Zeiss wrote about the psychology of tattooing.
Right.
Like, and there's a psychology to it. Like, look, I'm confident doing this, and that. If you want that, I fucking got you. But if you want me to compromise me, my position, what I do, my artistry for you, no, I'm sorry, I'm not going to.
Well,
go to the guy over here. Or, listen, maybe we have another artist in the shop that'll appease you, but I'm not your guy.
Yeah,
and I've said exactly that to a number of clients.
That was exactly the client. That's the email I just sent to a client.
I'm not your guy.
Yeah. To any clients out there, if you're getting a tattoo this fucking big, and then your artist, after talking to you for an hour and a half in the front room, disappears in the back room, and there's 1 or 2 other artists back there, and he's gone for more than fucking 15 minutes, he's talking mad shit. Because that back room that's our smoking lounge. That's where we get to fucking bitch and complain about all the dumb shit that goes on. And then when he comes out, with any luck, he is polite as fuck. You get the tattoo you want and the tattoo you deserve.
That's it.
I
mean, I'll give him, hey, listen, I'm going to give you a minute. Here's my Instagram. Take a look through. I'm going to go take a minute. Let you sit on that.
See, that's the thing, is we get clients here, man, like, we had a guy.
They're everywhere.
We had a guy that
doesn't always work.
Tiff doesn't want to play, favorites. Someone will come in, they'll be like, they have a general idea. Anybody in the shop will do it.
Yeah.
And her thing will be, go check out the books, get a feel for people's work, and then decide you just pick one for me. Yeah, I don't do that, because I'm not going to play favorites with any of the guys. Just go out, and then she'll go talk to the guys. And then we've had clients that get nasty with some of the guys, because they want to be told what they want, but they don't want to be told what they want.
I want something original, just like this.
Exactly.
Something original. Yeah, something original, just like that.
And therein lies the problem. And again, don't get me wrong. I think that there's a lot of tattooers out there that are going to be like, no, you're wrong, and you should be giving them your all. And they are 100% right. But when you're when you're in a shop where you've got a conveyor belt of people coming and going, I mean, when you're in a private studio and you're dealing with fucking 2 people, 3 people a week, that's one thing.
Right.
But when you're dealing with fucking 18 people a day coming through the shop, now, let's say out of those 18 people, let's say 7 of them stick around to get tattooed.
Right.
That's still a lot of people to A, to talk to, and B, to take care of.
Yeah.
Depending on the size of your shop.
Well, everybody wants so much now from you. Yeah. And that's just a generational thing. And again, if you're offended by it, so be it.
Yeah.
Maybe you're in that realm of. But it's like people want so much from you. I'm like, hey, listen, take the time yourself. Do your research before you come in. And that's the thing. Like, ignorance nowadays? No,
there should be no point.
We have this. We have this. Everything is right here.
You
Everything
remember
you need is right
when
here.
Miami Ink came out? You motherfuckers gave people a fucking dictionary of shit. Like they had source material to come to all of us with. Now how aggravating it was to be like, okay, so my kid and blah, blah, and it'd just be like, okay, I don't need to know all that. Like, but Miami Ink and
I got
like, how much did that fuck with you?
It fucked with us, all of us.
Yeah, I remember hearing. Like, I'm not going to get into it, but
we were.
Nunez gave me an earful one night, and it wasn't until you sit back and you realize, wow, you did this every fucking day. Like I did it for a week,
right?
And I could walk away from it because nothing was traumatic. I walked away from it being like, this is fucking silly. Like, don't get me wrong, I like talking to people and I want to hear what they have to say,
right?
But I don't want it to be like a fucking like this is what they feel like they need to spill their guts. For them to sit in my chair.
We can just sit, we can chill. I'm going to do something nice, and I'm going to put a smile on your face.
Exactly.
Like, that's all I ever wanted to do. I just want to see you smile. I want to put a smile on your face. I'm smiling. It's fantastic, But, and I actually had an issue with one of our producers one day, and I'll give this to you. Client was in there, it was emotional. It was rough, and I get it. And a lot of these people that came on the show, they had some rough, tough stories. They went through some things, and this one girl started getting really upset in my chair, and I stopped. I tried to calm her down,
and they were just like, "What are you doing?"
And my producer went, "Well, Darren, why don't you talk to her about it?" I said, "You know what?" I said, "When I'm done doing the tattoo, and she's got that big, huge smile on her face, you could take her in that dirty, dark little back room in the back and make her cry." I said, "Right now, we're gonna have a good time. We're gonna do a tattoo. Get out of here."
So my direct experience with that was when I was down there filming. I just finished my tattoo. You were just getting started on a woman. You were doing a horse's head on her. Mm-hmm. And I think she might have been like, she was a producer as well. She had something to do with the set because she was there every day.
Okay.
And we're all sitting there, and she's sitting in the chair, and she's getting tattooed, and you guys are chatting it up. You're talking it. And then at one point, one of the other producers comes up to me, or whatever they had, the hands or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, Joe, can you..." Because I was just watching you tattoo. Because, that's what you do as a tattooer in a tattoo shop. You want to watch your friend's work, Yeah. And the guy's like, "Hey, can you step outside?" And I'm like, "Yeah, cool, what's up?" And he takes me outside, and he goes, "Okay, cool." And he walks away from me. I'm like, whoa, what the fuck, dude? I was watching Darren tattoo. And he goes, "Yeah, no, we just needed to get you, we need to clear the room." And I'm like, "Oh, you motherfuckers are trying to get her to cry, aren't you?"
Yeah,
and sure as shit, I remember hearing through the thing saying, "You fucking bawled like a motherfucker in that back room. We need fucking tears right now." Dude, that chick walked out of that shop. She looked like a fucking clown. All the shit just pouring off her face. And I'm like, what the absolute fuck, dude? But again, it's such... I get the human...
And some was natural. Some was just human emotion.
Yes.
And it was natural, and it happened, and you share that moment, you have that moment. But then, man, so whether it be the producers or whether it be the people themselves who wanted their story to be that one, like, I don't know what it was, I don't know which one it was, but not my deal, man. I just want to do a tattoo.
How do you feel being part of the fucking start of the fucking nightmare that we live in today?
I think so here it is. But I've been asked that question a number of times. I think, one, it was inevitable. It was going to happen. I think that I think that we're really responsible with how we did and how we dealt with it.
Most
Because
certainly.
there was a lot coming at us. We fought every day to one, keep our integrity and the integrity of the business. And I think we did a hell of a fucking job doing that.
I think
And
that's
if
something.
anybody's got anything to say about that,
I think that's something that a lot of people that are going to be naysayers, because I was one of those people,
Right.
until I was asked. And you can look at it from the perspective of, and I wish I had used this more with that kid coming into my shop at 18 years old and being like, well, if it ain't me, it's going to be somebody else.
right.
That was my experience. It was like, well, dude, if they were asking you, you know you're going to go with this with a moniker of fucking decorum, where you're not going to just be like, yeah, fuck everything. Let's just bring on the fucking drama.
We literally fought to the point of being tired. We could have done more.
Yeah.
We didn't.
Well, there comes a point, I think, with something like, with a machine like that, you are just a cog. And if you become too squeaky of a fucking wheel, they're going to stop greasing it and replace you.
Well, that-
Which, not for
or-
nothing, they
or-
fucking did.
Well-
not necessarily.
Well, before that happened, we were like, look, we're not going to have one. As I mentioned, we're not going to have our integrity compromised. We've done what we did. We did it without compromising the business. We kept the respect and admiration of our peers in the business.
The fact of the matter is, everybody from that shop that came out of that shop literally is still respected to this day for what they brought to the table back then.
And I think we
the way
brought
they continue
more
to
to the table than took away from the table.
Yeah, most
Everybody can
certainly.
say whatever the hell they
Oh,
want.
especially
But-
when you look at what, you know, I'm not even going to go into what the drama, the bullshit with Kat and stuff. But yeah, I mean, if you look at the situation, you can say that, you know, she went further because of certain things, or you could say she went further because of certain things. You know what I mean? So there is a big, and again, that's only because I know little things.
You know.
But the thing, but that is one of those things. You want to maintain who you are. You're not a persona.
I'm still the same dude that I was in 1992 when I started.
Right.
You know,
Which
and
is
I'm
maybe
still
a
the
bad
same.
thing. I mean, I remember.
Well, you change, you evolve. I mean, I've definitely evolved. I mean, it's
fuck
natural
yeah.
order.
I mean,
Things
dude.
is inevitable. If you don't, then
Dude,
be some schlep.
tattooing changed my entire fucking life.
Yeah.
Like, I was a Long Islander, dude. Like, I was a fucking dork from Long Island. I played Dungeons and Dragons until I was 24.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I was a fucking regular guy. I always did art, you know, and I was very fortunate to always make a living right in high school as an artist, you know, even if it was a cheesy fucking t-shirt artist.
Yeah, it didn't matter.
I loved what I fucking
it.
did, you know.
I mean, I was graffiti.
But tattooing, I would have never left the Long Island if it hadn't been for that. I would have been a typical Long Islander. You just don't fucking leave. Why would you? It's like living
And
in the
it's-
fucking mall.
To me, it's like not even worth thinking about. Like, I did it.
Yeah.
I did it. It's what I wanted. I did it. I did it the way I wanted to do it. And when the opportunities presented themselves to me in the industry, well, I took advantage of that.
Right.
Without a doubt. And I took risks. I saw it. I thought about it. I fucking jumped.
Yeah.
I did it.
Dude,
Like, it didn't matter. You know, there wasn't... back in the day when I was younger, there was no hesitation. If it felt good, if it sounded right, I jumped. I took it all the way, as far as I could. I mean, even like, you know, going to work with Ami in the Bronx at Tattoo Scenes. You got to come up here. Bro, I just got back to Miami. I can't. What do you mean? I can't get up there. He goes, you got to come up here.
Just the experience. I did one day there, and I was just the experience
At
alone
Scenes?
was worth it. Yeah.
Oh, dude.
Just the experience.
Talk about
the
a
characters
machine.
coming through there.
Oh, it was... So I agreed to Ami finally, like, all right, I can come for a month. I can't come for 3 months. I can come for a month. All right, I'll let him know. Okay, so I came up for a month.
When was this? This had to be like mid 90s, early 90s.
No, this is probably... Well, Adorn was there.
Oh,
Barbara
so
was
this
working
would
at
have been
Adorn.
late 90s.
I was living in Williamsburg. Yeah, it was late 90s.
Yeah.
Late 90s. Yeah, but it had to be late 90s.
Because I was up there in like 94. It was like
okay.
it was like 1 year in. I just left the shop I started in, and it was like
Insane.
he's tattooed some yoked up fucking Hell's Angel, and like
Dude,
it was yeah.
It was good. The cast characters that went through Scene Shop was unbelievable
Oh,
experience.
the fucking Bronx
Thank
back
you.
then?
Yeah.
It's nothing like it is today.
Amazing.
And
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was a time warp.
Yeah.
Like, it was a complete time warp. But awesome. Making stupid money. And that month that I said I'd come up for it turned into 9 months, almost a year later. I was still at Scenes.
I didn't know that. I had no idea.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I spent some time there. But then, same thing there, like, I had taken a couple trips to Miami, and I'm like, oh, man, I'm like, back in my clientele, like, I'm doing my things, I'm doing more of my thing. I mean, Scenes is all walk-ins.
Yeah.
Like, you're working 12 hours a day, 10 to 10, doing walk-ins.
Was it like proper street shop, like pick stuff off the walls?
Yep.
This is before cell phones and everything else. Yeah.
Proper.
That was amazing.
It was unbelievable.
Even when we started changing the way the street shop was traditionally done, we literally were like, pick something, like they'd come in and be like, I'm looking to do like a rose, or I'm looking to do this, and you'd be like, hey, do me a favor, look at the shop, look around,
take a look
get
around.
a feel for everything. So I have an idea where your head's at, and I was like, and they come up and they find something, they'd be like, cool, I'm gonna redraw this.
Yeah.
And you would just make a loose tracing, add your own little finagle to it.
Yeah.
And then you come out and be like, this is for you. This is even it came off the wall, it's still yours.
Yeah.
And
all that.
And everybody was down for that. I think that is a little bit lost today because if somebody brings in a Pinterest tattoo and you go, yeah, cool, I'm going to redraw this. No, I want this. And I'm like, no, I got you. And you redraw it. And then they go back there and they're like, no, I want this. That's what I asked for. What are you doing? Don't change it. See the phone? I want the phone here,
Like that.
Exactly.
Like that. Yeah. No.
Yeah,
No.
but street shop days, and it's funny.
And look, I love doing a dope piece of Flash, of course. But now in my head, for so many years doing it, I'm going to redraw it.
Yeah.
I'm still going to redraw it. I'm still going to, but I love it. I love the idea. I love the whole idea of, our shop you've seen our shop, it's littered with Flash.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, dude,
where you look.
I absolutely, so the only time we get that here at Hope is when we host events. Right. Like if we do a Halloween thing, or if we do, we'll do what we did at Game of Thrones. We did fucking a Tiki Day. We've done all kinds of silly shit. We've done it. We'll have somebody work the bar. We'll bring in food. We'll go all kinds of silly shit. But it's all Flash that we've either drawn or handpicked.
Yeah.
So anything on the walls, bring it. Like we are down for anything because
Absolutely.
there was always some fucked up piece of Flash
Oh yeah,
on the walls that you just did not want to fucking do. There was
like Cherry Creek.
Yeah, there was like
Someone say
so I came in after Cherry Creek. Cherry Creek was the shit. When I was in, it was tattoo. It was JD Crow stuff.
Oh
it was
yeah,
Crow stuff.
that's
like any wizard, anything cool. And then Cliff did a really good job of like getting a lot of European Flash. He had Phillips stuff. He had Jack stuff. Like Jack stuff, absolutely fucking love doing because you can. Everything was made to be tattooed quick.
Oh yeah, I just saw an
Type
interview with him.
37 mag, done. Rip through that shit.
He actually, so Frank Ball came to Miami to visit, and I started lettering. He's like, man, you should be doing some more lettering. I had graffiti background, so I was all about lettering. He's like, let me give you a little something. He gave me this Mr. Weto sheet that Rudy had done, I think, in '84 or something like that. It was just photocopied piece of paper. Here we go, man, photocopy that. That was the base of all my lettering. It was Jack Rudy. So that was the root of it all.
So we had a couple of national flyers that Jack had hand done. So those flyers back in the day, there'd be a drawing down here, a drawing up here, and the rest of it would just be all text. All hand done by Jack. Amazing. We literally would just we had fucking just photocopies, and literally you put that on a fucking light table, you lay out your shit,
put it all
hand
together.
draw it, like your hand trace it, excuse me,
yeah,
and that was our lettering guide, and we did that for I think I did that for the first 7 years of tattooing.
Dude, I was doing so much lettering. I would come up to New York and work, and I'd say like 60% of my clientele was getting lettering because no one on the East Coast was doing that LA style lettering.
Yeah,
I was coming up busting that out, and they were just like, wait a minute. I don't got to go to the West Coast, but I would do it too. Instead of like a 3-liner, I'd use a 7-liner.
Right.
So that was my little variant.
But now look at where that has changed. Look how much of that has changed because the West Coast thing is still very prevalent in certain.
West Coast just gone to a whole new level.
Yeah.
I mean, Big Me's, the things he's doing, that's straight up Cholo gang lettering.
Yeah, exactly.
That's next level. Or Big Sleeps. I'm sorry, Big Me's.
Oh, Sleeps. Yeah, I was gonna say yeah.
Sleeps, unbelievable, LA style, like nobody does it better as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Said it. Big Me's, his lettering is.
Have you ever been to his shop
unbelievable
in Ohio?
No,
I went back in May when we went to Hell City. Dude, he's a fucking nice shop. It is a really, really nice shop. It is gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
If you've met him, obviously.
I've met him a bunch of times. Again, he's another person I wish I knew better. Every time I've ever seen him, like the first time I think I technically met him was in it was Milan. The one time I did it before they shut down that particular, the year before they shut down the hotel that the Milan convention used to be held in before it went big.
Right.
But I met him there. Him and Norm were working together, and and we talked for 2 seconds, and then we went our ways.
Sweetheart of a guy.
Super nice
like,
guy.
Great guy. Like, just, you always hope, it's like you meet artists, or you meet a superstar, an athlete, or whatever it is, and you just.
Because how many times
some people I don't want to meet.
This business is the thing that proved to me, if you have a hero, you don't always want to meet that person.
Yeah, exactly. For example, and this is some stupid shit, not even anything to do with tattooing, but on that premise, I went to a Comic-Con and I saw Swan from the Warriors.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Was there.
Yeah.
The leader of the Warriors. I don't want to meet him.
Yeah, because God forbid
I don't want to meet him. Yeah. No, that's Swan from the Warriors.
Yeah.
He leads the Warriors. It's the same thing. Like, I see certain tattoo artists, I'm like, and I've been lucky. I met, like, Joe Vegas was I'm Darren Brass because of Joe Vegas.
Oh, you told me.
Because when I went to New York, when I went to work in Hempstead, everybody knew me as Gumby. And everybody who's known me for years knows me as Gumby.
Right.
Because that was my graffiti tag. So everybody just knew it. There's people that don't even know my name as Darren. So
back then, I was introduced but I was also introduced as Angela's fetus.
Right.
Which is the worst possible fucking
So everybody knew Gumby, so I go up to New York to work. I finally got my spot in New York. Like, Gumby? You can't use that. I'm like, what's your name? My name is Darren. Yeah. I'm like, but what do you mean? They're like, scratchers have nicknames, so people don't know who they are. You got to use your real name. I was like, they're like, change it. Gonna get new cards for you now. I'm like, all right, cool. Angelo. It was Angelo mainly, and Mike, and the other guys.
Right.
So I'm like, fuck, I have an ill Polish last name. So I'm like, man, people are going to misspell this. And then I went, wait a minute. I remember reading an article on Joe Vegas. And Joe Vegas changed how I tattooed just from that one article, because I saw him doing, pinups like nobody had done pinups back in the 90s. Like, this was the early 90s. Right. Nobody had done pinups like that. He was using Bill Ward reference.
Yeah, which is great fucking
and
reference.
Nobody was back then.
Yeah.
No one. He was doing those crazy pinups. And just seeing this dude with all rockabilly out, it was L.A. But then he had a dropped 85 Regal,
Never got that, but yeah.
Purple 85 Regal. And I was like, this is amazing. So, but just the tattooing alone, he was an unbelievable person. What do you know? 2 years later, so I said, so here it is. So they called him Joe Vegas because he was from Vegas, and his name was Joe. He was an LA squatter. There's a bunch of Joes around. He was from Vegas, so they called him Joe Vegas. So I'm like, wait a minute. I'm Darren. A lot of my time is spent in Brass City. I'm Darren Brass. And there it is.
That's a good name, too. That's not a bad name.
Quick, it's catchy, you don't forget it.
Exactly.
That's it. But thank you, Joe. Got me. But I told him the story 2 years later, when I was or 3 years later, whenever it was, when I was at Tattoos by Lou. Joe came from LA to visit.
Right.
And I was like, yo, you have no idea. And I told the story now, he's an old friend of mine.
So how's things going? Like, you open up Brass City in...
So around 2000, I start traveling again. I'm nomad again. I'm on the road. I'm wherever. I was working in Boston a lot. I was working at this underground shop in Boston in Chinatown.
Right.
It was sick. I was working in Boston a lot, but the plan was to come back to Connecticut and open up a shop. My friend Sean Martin, who had pretty much worked everywhere, he'd go on tour. He's a guitarist, Grammy-nominated guitarist, would finish whatever tour he was on and come to whatever shop I was working at. He was pretty much my first apprentice.
Right.
So he's like, man, let's do it. Now's the time. Let's fucking do it. Like, I can do it. Doing well with the band. You're traveling. Like, let's do this. Let's do it in Waterbury. So
why did you pick Waterbury, though?
That's where I'm from.
Okay. Well, Waterbury's it's just especially back then, it's a rougher town than it is.
Yeah, it was rough as hell. The neighborhood we opened up in the straight hood, Brooklyn, the Brooklyn end of Waterbury.
Right.
Like, ghetto, bike club, Italian neighborhood up here.
Yeah.
Like, it was...
Yeah, that one block of
typical New England.
No man's land.
Oh, yeah. It was no man's land. But we found a great spot. It was a beautiful building.
I've been I went to the original shop.
Early 1900s, original wood floor, original tin ceiling. It was beautiful. So we're like, all right, we can work with this. So 2002, we opened up Brass City Tattoo with Sean and I.
Nice.
And then 2004, I got a call from Ami. Hey, You gotta come down to Miami. We got this opportunity to do a reality show. I'm like, a reality show? He's like, yeah, this producer contacted me and he wants to film a pilot. He's like, I got Garver coming in, Yoji's gonna come in from New York. I'm like, and Nunez and I are already looking to open up a shop, so let's see if we can make this happen. And we made it happen.
That's a killer thing that he kept in touch with you enough to
we're
make
family.
that.
I mean, between him, Garver, all of us, like, we'd lived together, worked together, ate together, fought together, like,
It's amazing. It's just super cool that still existed, because a lot of times nowadays, especially, I don't think you're going to find that kind of loyalty. I think people are going to look at it from the perspective, and you're not going to find producers that are going to be cool with it. Again, first, you're the beginning.
Right. It was the beginning of it, and it was a time where the production company was out in New York. They were looking at a bunch of shops, different spaces, talking to different artists, all around. They couldn't find what they wanted. Went into a friend of ours bar, a guy that Ami and I tattooed, and hey, Charlie, what are you working on? Told him he was working on. He's like, "Did you ever think about Miami?" And he was like, "I wouldn't be opposed to it." Put him in touch with Ami, and
see, that's killer.
History.
That's great. That's fantastic. And again, you guys were at the you were at the forefront. Like I said, while you did start a lot, but just the idea that they had, because at the same time you had the Hart and Huntington thing happening.
Right, that was happening.
That was all happening as well. Because that's something
different. They were kind of doing a different thing. I don't watch much.
It was a fucking dog. It was kind of a dog and pony show from what I remember. Like I had gone. So Jimmy had started working at that shop. Probably I think it was the year the show got canceled. I think they did 2 or 3 seasons. I don't know.
Yeah, it was something, it was quick.
So the year it gets canceled, Jimmy goes to that shop. Or just before it gets canceled. So we go out there and the shop was, it was a cool shop. It's a Vegas shop. It's fucking it's laughable as far as shops are concerned. It's all fucking bells and whistles and bullshit.
Yeah.
But I remember like the money they were making in that shop. And it was just like, dude,
ridiculous.
What the fuck? This is not sustainable. Like, this is insane.
Yeah.
But they were just like, fuck it. They're piling on.
Bang,
yeah.
Bang.
And shortly after that, they have an issue. They fucking close up. They end up leaving the fucking Palms, go someplace else, whatever.
Right.
And of course, Jimmy's at the tail end of it, whatever. But you guys took it to a different level, and we kind of talked about this before with the whole personal interaction.
Right.
And not for nothing, you did give the clients a voice in a scenario. Again, I would have preferred it had been... I guess it doesn't matter, because nowadays, like the way that TV shows are going now, it's more about the drama.
Right.
So the client may not have a story now because nobody wants to fucking hear it.
But back then, they want to know the client's story. Yeah. And it was good, too, because the one good thing I'll say about it, it was a lot. Let me tell you, again, we talk about it was a lot. Yeah. But, showing that these are just common people coming to get tattooed. They're the same people that came into the shop in Long Island in, 1993, 94. Like, they were the same clients.
You're giving them a voice.
The same ones.
You're giving them a voice.
They did.
Yeah.
We gave them a tattoo.
You also, after 9/11...
Yeah.
I mean, fuck, dude, being from New York, the amount... And again, I was already in New Hampshire at that time, so I missed the whole 9/11 New York tattoo thing.
Okay.
Because that was a whole movement.
I came up the morning before.
I
woke up to that happening.
Dude, I left the day before. I got back to New Hampshire.
Crazy,
I drove back to New Hampshire, went to sleep, woke up to the fucking towers.
I woke up in Long Island with that happening.
I was coming back from Japan.
Oh,
I stayed at my mom's place because she was in. I flew into JFK with Scott Kelly. Mm-hmm. I ended up. My mom was in Jersey celebrating her birthday with her friends at Atlantic City. So I ended up going. I spent the night there and then drove back the next morning. Crashed out. Woke up the next morning to all that shit.
Yeah.
My mom was stuck in Jersey for like 5 days because they shut down the bridges.
Everything was shut down.
But I didn't have to. I wasn't part of the whole wave of tattooers that were doing all the fucking firemen, all the policemen, all the first responders. So I didn't have that. But after Miami happened, when you guys do Miami, you have all these crazy stories. Everybody's got a reason why they're doing it, who they lost, and then you bring in the personal things of like family, kids and dogs and all kinds of other crazy shit.
It was.
I wish they had dwelled less on, because that was the one conversation I had with one of the producers down there. It's like, you're fucking Miami. Just open the fucking doors.
Well, we tried that.
Some weirdo nut job is going to come in.
We tried that.
And her thing...
They couldn't handle it.
The response came... Her thing was, we have no control over what comes in,
Right.
and we don't. What happens if we have a film crew here for 12 hours and nothing happens?
Right.
So I get it. You know, I do understand it. I really do wish that it was done with a bit more of a moniker of, you know, like some kind of decorum.
Tattooing.
Yeah, exactly. Where there was a bit more in the way
We
of
all
history.
wanted it.
Yeah.
You know, we all wanted it. We're
Yeah.
like, can we just do a tattoo? You know, just a cool tattoo because it's cool. Like, can we talk about the art of a tattoo or the artist that developed this style? Like, can we do... But it just didn't, unfortunately, go with the mode or framework of the show.
Well, and again, if you...
I mean, we were sorry, not to cut you off.
not at all.
We were able to do what we want with the designs we were given, with the ideas that we were given. And we were given ideas. Like, it wasn't just, I want this and you got to do that because I went through this. They gave us an idea. We knew what they wanted to do. We know kind of where they wanted to go with it. And it was just like any other consultation. Like, yeah, I think this is for me. I can handle this. I can do this. I can work with this.
Right.
And so they allowed us to, you know, artistically go in our own direction with that, but just under this.
Well, it's funny because when you get guys
Dome
like Garver on there who have a reputation as being who he is, and he's tattooing dudes from New York and whatever else, so you can get like I think that was the thing from an outside. So I never really watched the show, but from an outsider's perspective, everybody was always like, "Oh, fucking Garver,"
Yeah.
and that was like, and no offense to you,
No, that was our mentor.
Yeah,
since I went down to Miami in '95,
like
that was my mentor.
He legitimized it because you could say whatever
Absolutely.
the fuck you wanted. Same thing when they brought in Tim Hendricks. Like when you brought in guys like that, you can't say shit anymore.
No,
because at that point it's like, no, dude, that's fucking Chris Garber. That's
and just
fucking Tim Hendricks.
talking to all of us. I mean, you know, everyone from the show either grew up or came into business with Lou Scabaris, or I came from Peter Tattoo. Like we all came from a background that you couldn't really say anything.
Yeah, you couldn't front.
You couldn't say anything.
It's funny because I've talked to Hannah Aitchison about this, about like when she did LA Inc. And again, you can't say dick all, dude. Corey Miller, fucking Hannah Aitchison, Kim Say. It's like, yeah, dude, say what you want about Kat, but there's 3 other motherfuckers that don't fuck around. And again, nothing against Kat. This is not a shot. But the fact of the matter is, one person brings something to the table. The other people bring all the tattooing and all the fucking legend and all the fucking talent to the fucking to the table, and that's a big fucking deal. The people aren't gonna. And again, this is part of the problem with our mentality is we don't put asses in seats. Like you'll get people that are down with it, but they're down for snippets. Or they want to see the photo at the end. They don't really care about the drama that follows.
Yeah, everything in here, they give a shit.
And I get it. I mean, there is definitely like, because now you look at what's happening with the TV shows and the fucking Ink Masters and all the crap. Wow. It's just, it blows your mind because I can't believe it's still produced. Going on. Yeah, it's produced. Well, it's produced to a motherfucker.
We were able to, with our show, keep it to a level where we, in essence, produced ourselves. We had our producers, but they knew what we were tolerant of, and we figured out what they were tolerant of.
Right.
So we found a comfortable medium to work in that worked.
Right.
But I mean, we went through some producers to begin with because we're like, well, fuck you.
See, it's funny. We never had like. Dude, when I did the TV show, when I did Best Ink, dude, it was such a fucking, like my first week and a half, 2 weeks, like producers were coming up to me and I'd just be like, no. And they're like, what do you mean no? And I'm like, I'm not doing that. And they just look at you like, and they wouldn't say anything. And then like after about, I think it was 8 days in, like we're getting ready to fucking dump a couple of people. And they bring out, they ask me to do something. And I'm like, no, I'm not sending that person home. And they're just like, but we just asked you to. And I'm like, yeah, and I'm the judge. Yeah, I'm sorry. No. She didn't lose. So I'm not sending her home. And they sent a producer, not even a producer, it was a network person in. Which, from what I understand, is not normal. Like, they don't normally have network people on set.
We got calls.
They bring this woman in, and she's just like, hey, I'm from the network, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, cool. And she's like, yeah, we really want to see this person go home. And I'm like, yeah, it's not going to happen. And she just looked at me. She goes, what do you mean? I'm like, she didn't do the worst tattoo. I'm not sending her home. And they're like, but we want you to send her home. And I'm like, I don't care. And they were just like, well, you know, it's in your contract. I'm like, good, fire me. I don't want to do this anyways. Like, I'm only doing it because you guys actually said yes. Like, I agreed to do it because I didn't want to go to some other fucking douchebag.
Well, I mean, when they came to us with the show, they had a whole other idea for the show. But then once they saw us together in our environment,
which amongst is what each other, any client.
So there was a little, you know, we were able to kind of tweak it a little bit from what,
because you know as well as I do, it's not just the moment of that one client in the chair. If you're in a proper shop. And I say that working in a fucking private room shop, which is why I have 2 more stations in here, because I want to work amongst other people.
Right.
But when you get that rapport of fucking, client and tattooer and tattooer and client, everybody bouncing off of each other. Now, granted, it's not for everybody.
No.
But I would hazard to say that it will bring a motherfucker out of his shell. It will give them a life experience that they may never get anyplace else.
That's it. It's an experience. You had an experience. You didn't just get a tattoo. You had a fucking experience. You enjoyed your time at the shop. The camaraderie between the artists and all. I mean, it goes a long way.
Exactly.
Like, the private studio idea, all that. I couldn't imagine. I like talking shit.
Yeah. That's the thing, yeah.
I like breaking balls.
I like going into all the other guys' rooms and fucking shooting the shit.
Yeah.
That's part of the fun.
That's part of it. That's my life. That's my day. That's what lends to my artwork and what I'm doing for you.
Right.
That's... And they don't get that.
Well, this is a perfect segue to go into what's happening today. Like, you are now back at Brass City.
Yeah, so I go, obviously did the show, all that, then spent almost 20 years after the show in Miami. I left, I've been up here and going on my 3rd year back up here, and I came back to Brass City, to home.
Not as an owner. You're
just
working there
as
like
an artist,
like a grunt.
Yeah. I like to say I'm an asset to the firm. I came back home. I think it was time. Both of my best friends, one who still owns the shop now, is like, listen, man, it's time. And at that point, it kind of was. I couldn't do walk-ins anymore. I told Ami, I'm like, yo, I'm done. He's like, I can't believe it took you this long.
Yeah.
I'm like, because I kept just going by appointment, but then I'd fall back into the walk-in. Then I'm just by appointment. Then
it's hard to walk away from money too, especially when you just want a tattoo.
Money was solid, and I just wanted a tattoo. And a lot of my walk-in clients became my regular clients. Yeah. It's just inevitably how it happened.
Which is how that's the whole point of a walk-in shop.
That's how we grew up.
You build up enough of a clientele of regular people, it turns into a client.
Yeah. And, I had always loved the burbs. Like, as far as work goes. I'm a city boy. I love the city. I love the energy of the city. I love it that I could get anything I want anytime I want in the city. But even living in Manhattan, I worked in Queens. I worked in the Bronx. I worked in Long Island. Because you get a good, steady, solid clientele.
It's different. It's not quite as rat racy.
Right. And you can do everything I was going to do, if not more. So I was like, man, can I move back? And timing was right. Like, everything just sort of fell into place.
You got your kid with you. And
I got my kid. My kid was going into high school.
Worst places to go to school.
Yeah, I mean, he was in a great school down there. He was in the Miami Arts Charter School. He was excelling there, but he was down to move.
Yeah.
And once he told me that he was down with the move, then it really made me think about it. So I was visiting pretty rare, and the beauty of it too, like, I could go live in Connecticut and still work at 5 Points in New York City.
Right, so you still be around Garver
shop there. Yeah. Still be around Garver, still be around the group of artists there. Still kind of feel like I'm traveling a little bit, have my bit of the city. And, Garver's great. It's like open door. If I have an appointment, there's always space for me.
Yeah, Waterbury to fucking Manhattan is what, an hour?
I could be, yeah.
Without traffic.
Right. Right. I could have my feet on the ground, car parked in hour and a half, hour 40.
Right. Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
And I'm in front of the shop. Yeah. So it's great. It's nice. So I miss the Northeast. I'm a Northeast kid.
I'll be honest, I'm the same way. I don't think I could ever. I don't think I'd be super happy being outside of the Northeast. I'm getting older, and the cold and the fucking winter, it does crush you. But I still like when the snow falls. I started snowboarding when I was 25, and I'm gonna start doing it again at 53, 54. Like I can't do a full winter here anymore. Like, I get hot, I get angry. I don't fucking like it. No, I can't.
I don't like it.
I still.
I love the Northeast. I love the seasons. It's dope. It's cool. But my winters, I'm going to be somewhere.
I still kind of dig on it. I still kind of dig on it.
I get it. Like, I love our shop. Like, it's tough. I'm in a little bit of I'm not liking the winters right now. Well, but I love my clientele. I love the fact that, wintertime I get pretty busy.
Right. Well, that's how you know you have a proper clientele. They know that you get tattooed now when you're not out in the sun in the water.
It's crazy. It's great. It's awesome. So let's just say I'll spend more time down south.
Yeah.
And two, you've been tattooing 30 plus years.
Yeah.
you feel it. You feel it in your hands.
Oh, no,
you feel
most
it in your
certainly.
knees.
Just
you feel
getting
it in your
older,
hips.
yeah,
It's
man.
like, not sound like an old dog, but
No, I
we put our time in.
I turned 56 this past year, and things have changed dramatically. I mean,
Yeah, you feel shit.
You never realize. I don't think until I turned 52, I think. When I hit 52, that's when things really started to sink in and be like, dude, like, you're fucking old. Like, you can feel it. You feel it in your fucking bones.
I still feel young.
I know. I don't get me wrong, dude.
I still feel like I'm 14.
I made a joke about, like, 2 weeks ago, I was down in Virginia with another friend from the UK. Picked him up. We spent the holiday up here. We went down, visited some friends. I'm sleeping on an air mattress on a fucking floor, and I'm like, dude, you're 56 years old. What the fuck are you doing?
Because you got it in you.
I
like,
guess.
I'm a gypsy at heart.
Yeah,
like,
I guess.
I always rolled like that. I was there. I didn't care wherever I was.
I love every moment of it, dude, but it's leaving a mark.
And it leaves a mark, and I think not only getting older, feeling older, that's part of it, but at the same time, you know what? I can do it.
Oh, no, most certainly.
I can come up to Connecticut,
really
and I can work as much as I want, and I can spend a week, 2 weeks, or half the month here, or half the month there, because I can.
Right.
My responsibilities, all of that, but, I can do it now, so why not? I worked for that.
Right.
And I worked my ass off for that. Like, you can tattoo by me, if you've been tattooed by me, I put all in.
Yeah, you're not getting ignored.
And as much as I'll say, I can pick what I do, how I do. If that's what I'm doing, it's 110%.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
Every time. And, Brass City Tattoo, that's where I'm at now. It's given me the opportunity to do that and work with those people and kind of ground myself again. I'm definitely grounded myself there. I've had to, it was like building a new, as much as that shop has been there, we're going on, we're over 2002, so almost, over 20 years.
Right, yeah.
I had to come up and build a whole new business in a sense. It was like starting something new.
Right,
and,
exactly.
A lot of my clientele is like, oh, it must be great tattooing all your old clientele. I'm like, no, they're done.
They're
like,
done, yeah.
If anything, it's cool tattooing their kids.
Yeah,
Because that's what I'm tattooing now.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah.
But it's awesome.
Yeah.
And Brass City is going to be an opportunity to really, like, appreciate that, understand that, like, feel that. And it's cool. It's awesome. It's awesome being back in Connecticut. I mean, I can come visit with friends like, old friends like you. I can go to New York.
4 times.
Yeah, 4 times. But, it's awesome. It's again, it's where your roots are. It's where I started. It's where everything's grown from. And, I ride through Hempstead all the time. My friends have a coffee shop, the Witch's Brew, who I love. The Witch's Brew, that's right.
They're still there.
They're still there.
Holy shit. That's something I haven't heard that.
Unbelievable.
Ever.
So
yeah.
I go there to visit, and you know what? Peter Tattoo is 2 blocks up the road.
Yeah, right, exactly. Do you know anybody that's in there anymore?
I have no idea.
Yeah, exactly.
No idea. I don't know. And there's nobody that I would know. It's not Peter Tattoo anymore.
Right.
They
Exactly.
closed the shop.
Oh, they did close it.
Yeah, Larry unfortunately passed.
Yeah.
So everything was a little different.
Yeah.
But
getting on to you.
Yeah.
Talking about people you meet, you've got a bunch of new business things you're doing. You're not just.
Yeah.
It's not just about tattooing. You've got side.
So
I don't want to call them side hustles because they're legitimate businesses.
It's my side hustle, but it's legitimate business. So I mean, years ago, about 14 years ago, I started doing freelance illustration, doing digital work. We had a children's clothing line, Ruthless and Toothless. Yeah. We were doing really well with that. So it kind of brought me into that realm of things and understanding that. I also was freelancing with an agency in New York, Bernstein and Andreuli. They were awesome. They really showed me the way and how to work in that industry. So I've been doing a lot of freelance work over the years since then, working with a lot of different companies, from small local restaurants to like Amazon Games,
Right.
crazy shit. So it's been an awesome experience, and with that too, I also kind of everything's sort of passion driven now. If I'm into it, just like the tattoos, and I met a partner in a coffee company, and a coffee company that's existed since 1903.
Yeah, the roasters.
They've been
themselves,
roasting.
Yeah.
I mean, our master roaster, Rosan, was built in 1920. And it's cool. It's like looking at an old tattoo machine. Like, I look at this huge roasting machine. It's like, kind of visiting back to that, like, Paul Rogers or something.
Right.
Like, damn, look at that bulldog. Like, that's sick. It's kind of the same idea in just the craftsmanship that goes into the coffee. I was like, wow. So, yeah, I started with Brass Brews under Winchell Mountain Coffee. And then recently, last year, we did a soft launch and got Shinshu Coffee going.
And this is with Jamie.
Yeah, I partnered with a chef friend of mine, restaurateur, celebrity chef.
We've talked about this on previous episodes that never got aired. But, it's funny how small of a world it is because your good friend Jamie is really good friends with my friend Tyler,
right?
Who's a good friend, and I met Jamie many years ago, and I knew of Jamie through another tattooer back in 2000.
And we all like to eat.
Yeah, exactly. We definitely like to eat.
If you're tattooing and you're doing it right, then you're eating well.
Exactly.
You're eating well.
And with any luck, if you're classy enough, you have the forethought to get to know the fucker making your fucking food.
Jamie and I actually filmed the pilot a while back. We were going to visit tattooed chefs in their environments, in their element, and telling their stories because their stories are generally pretty awesome.
How often do you get mistaken as a chef?
Dude, recently, Jamie and I went down to Miami Food and Wine for the launch of Shinshu to kind of give it a soft launch and show the chefs. And I'm working right beside him, and people in the kitchen, like some of the other chefs, are like, you see him looking.
Yeah.
And you see him talking. And the one main chef of the restaurant we're at was like, so a couple of guys are asking. So it was pretty funny.
It's like,
but it's almost like Jamie said, when we were doing the pilot, Jamie was like, it's almost a synonymous relationship between tattoo artists and chefs nowadays.
Yeah.
Like going to a kitchen, throw a pan, you're bound to hit somebody that's sleeved down.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's almost inevitable.
Exactly, yeah.
Chefs, bartenders, industry people, restaurant industry.
Industry in general, yeah.
I came from before I started tattooing.
Yeah.
I was in the restaurant bar industry.
Same here.
I still have a love. I still have a passion for it. I still have an appreciation for it. So Jamie, Jamie went to school in Florida, in Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, I didn't know it, actually.
I'd known Jamie's from the hardcore scene because that's a big part of my life. Has always been, hardcore scene, New York hardcore, all of that. Connecticut hardcore, which is a whole thing in itself.
Yeah.
But it brought me a lot of my clientele. A lot of people I know are from that. Jamie, I've known since he was like 13.
That's crazy.
53 now. He was one of the younger kids. So when I found out he was going to school in Florida, well, he found out that Darren Brass was Gumby, and his friends that were working with me found out that Gumby was Darren Brass. They were like, "Oh, wait a minute." So I've been with him since the get. So we figured it'd be really cool to do something together. So we started Shinshu.
That's killer.
Yeah.
That's super cool. So now, you have a good story, like that bit where you went down to Florida, we went down to Miami for the food week.
Yeah.
Like you actually worked. Were you pouring coffee? Like, what were you doing?
Dude, we were doing. I was tattooing during the day, and then going and doing an event. All right, tattoo up until we had the event. Then the event, I was sitting there cooking food with Jamie, selling throwing coffee out there in any way I could to anyone that I could, whether it be a bag or a cup of. And man, I worked it. That's why I'm like, if I believe in something, I believe in a brand or whatever it is, I'm gonna work it.
Well, I think
I'm there with it.
I think that's the big thing that shows just how passionate you are about the things that you get involved in. It's not just a matter of taking a paycheck.
No.
Like Miami Ink wasn't just a matter of getting paid to do something. It was a matter of actually being part of something, being at the forefront of something. Whether you think it's a good thing or a bad thing as an outside tattooer, I honestly think, like you said, I think it was inevitable. It's going to happen. Right. I think that a lot of us are... I wish more of the individuals that are involved in the grand scheme of things when it comes to other merchandise were a little bit more passionate and not just being used for their name recognition or worse, followers.
I mean, there's a lot of companies that have come to me. I'm not boasting in any way, but have come to me and offered me this or offered me that.
Right.
Want to be part of this. I'm just like, I don't, unless I'm passionate about it and I can really put me into it. Like everybody who knows me knows I love coffee.
Yeah.
And then my newest project, I'm going to start working with the company who does the tequila. An absolutely beautiful.
Oh, for real?
An absolutely beautiful tequila.
So you're going into the celebrity spirits lines.
I mean, I want
to have, not for nothing, after that line of shit you just spouted, it better be fucking good.
I'll tell you what. A friend of mine was part of the company, a national ambassador for the company, and I saw they were doing. She's like, Darren, you gotta try this. Like, I know you'd love it. Everybody knows I love coffee and tequila. It's hands down. So they did a reposado. A reposado, what is it? One, it's a beautiful organic agave that they use, grown in that region, 4th generation distiller. But what you do for reposado, you age it in barrels.
Yeah.
It's barrel aged, generally a bourbon barrel, something of that sort. So what they do 2 months in a bourbon barrel, then they put it into a coffee barrel for another 2 to 3 months.
So are they using your...
No.
So they're separate.
It's all their own thing. Told me about it. Got to try it. I finally tried it, and I was like, oh my God. How do I become part of this? It was so good. So like Quinta tequila. It is just...
That's fucking killer.
It's so unique. It's so special. They do it in such a way, from the distiller to the aging of the tequila. It's all organic. It's all natural. Like a lot of your good tequilas you see aren't good.
So the funny thing is when you talk to, and this is going down a nerd fucking route, but when you talk to spirits lovers, you know, people are gonna. That's why I made the joke about it having to be quality, because you know as well as I do, very few spirits that are backed by celebrities are technically good. 9 times out of 10, it's a tequila with all kinds of additives and colorings and all kinds of bullshit. Very few of those spirits tend to be what they claim it to be. They're basically selling garbage.
They'll sell it at a price of a high-end top-shelf liquor, but
exactly.
It's not.
Well, so it's nice to hear that you're properly, invested in something that you believe in.
Yeah, thank you. Because once I heard what they were doing, the way they're doing it, and then just tasted it. I literally tasted it and called her.
Yeah.
Like, what do I do? What do you think of this? This is like what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do a special
killer,
project with them. Not much I can talk about now, but I'm gonna do something really special with them. That's gonna be really cool. And again, it's something that I honestly believe in with all my heart.
Cool.
Like they did it right, and they're so awesome in the way they're doing it.
That's killer.
Quinta, they are special.
Is there anything else you want to touch on, or because we're at a good point? I think.
Yeah. No, we threw down on a lot here.
Yeah. I think we threw down on more than I think fourth time's a charm.
Yeah,
I think the other ones were a little bit more in depth, but I kind of like this one a little bit more. So
this is all right.
We just saved you guys the trouble of having to watch 4 of the 3 other ones.
No edits. This is live.
Exactly.
No, I just people should just evolve. They should be cool with the evolution of the business and what's happening. Be smart about it. Be cool about it. Recognize when you got quality and you got shit.
Yeah.
You wear Timex, you wear Rolex, you wear Payless or Prada.
Yeah.
It's your choice.
It's a good way to put it. It's a good way to put it. Well, again, thank you very much, man. I really appreciate you coming out.
Appreciate you.
Guys, thank you very much for tuning in. I will put everything that we talked about, any kind of information, websites, the Shinju Coffee, all that stuff in the description. So please keep an eye out for that. Thank you very, very much. I wish everybody a happy new year. That's already happened because this is going to come out after the new year. And thanks for tuning in again. See you when I see you.